Thank you, thank you. What an honor to be here, and isn't Tony Perkins an amazing leader in the conservative movement? And wow, what about Congressman Mark Meadows? He is the real deal. Well, I want to continue on this theme that Congressman Meadows started, talking about the deplorables. And I always like to remind audiences that I'm proud to call myself a gun-toting, Bible-clinging son of a Baptist. I'm not bitter, I'm blessed. I'm not irredeemable because according to that great gospel song, I've been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Now, I understand that Joe Biden has been talking smack about you good people. He says that you are the dregs of society. That's what he says. Well, I'd say it's better to be a dreg of society than an unemployed, pink hat wearing pajama boy living in his mother's basement. And I make no apologies, not anymore, for my support of this great president. Because he's done something that hasn't been done since Ronald Reagan was in office. He is actually delivering on his campaign promises. Jobs are coming back to America. Tax reform has taken money out of Uncle Sam's bank account and put it right back into ours. He's affirmed the vocational arts, assuring young men and young women that not everyone has to go to college. And as the son of an electrician and the product of a blue-collar upbringing, I'm here today to tell you that America needs more construction workers and mechanics and welders and bricklayers. We are restoring a work ethic in America. There is honor and nobility in putting in a hard day's work. And I'm excited to tell you that our president is the most pro-life president in modern history. And I pray that Congress will muster the moral courage to once and for all defund Planned Parenthood abortion mills. Not a single taxpayer dollar, not a one. And I'm also excited because we are on the verge of having the most conservative Supreme Court since the 1930s. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most important reason Donald Trump was elected. And that's why we must be diligent. I want to say a word about Judge Kavanaugh. Last night, his accusers, attorneys, sent out a statement accusing the Republicans of basically being woman-hating bullies. But in reality, it's Judge Kavanaugh and his family who have been bullied. And I say enough with the dirty tricks, enough with the political smears. It's time to confirm Judge Kavanaugh to the bench. But I warned folks about this in my book, The Deplorables Guide to Making America Great Again. We cannot afford to be complacent. The culture jihadists are on the warpath and the fight rages on. We must stand and fight. When Reagan brought morning to America, conservatives, we took a nap. We thought our work was done. But before long, Bill Clinton was chasing around interns in the Oval Office. And not too long after that, we had a community organizer taking up residence in the White House. Now, you might be saying, Todd, don't be a worrywart. Things are going great. Are they really? Because a recent Fox News poll shows we have reason to be concerned. The poll found that Democrats are mobilizing for the midterm elections. There is an enthusiasm gap among Republicans. A Pew study found that 40% of millennials believe there should be limitations placed on free speech. And a recent Gallup poll found that 55% of 18 to 29-year-olds think socialism is a good thing. And why is that? Well, I contend it's because that's what they're being taught in the classroom. You see, our public schools have been turned into indoctrination centers for the left. So no, my fellow conservatives, the fight goes on. The attacks on our values and our way of life continue at this very moment. Just yesterday, the Texas Attorney General warned a school district in Austin not to ban churches from renting school facilities. A militant LGBT group declared war on Celebration Church, a well-respected congregation. The LGBT's group's stated purpose, and I want to quote this, is to run the church out of town. And the school district is now considering a plan to ban any group that does not adhere to the LGBT agenda. You can see it for yourself. Go right now to toddstarnes.com. Read it for yourself. You know, I write and I talk a lot about religious liberty, and people ask me, why do you do that? Well, it's because that is our first freedom. It's the foundation of our Constitution, our way of life. It flavors everything that we do. Every single one of our rights is birthed from the idea that we are free to practice our faith openly in the public marketplace. But there is a fierce battle being waged against people of faith. The Ninth Circuit Court just ruled recently that high school football coach Joe Kennedy could not take a knee to pray after a football game at his high school. In America, a football coach can take a knee to protest the flag, but he cannot take a knee to pray to the Almighty. Joy Behar, one of the squawking magpies on The View. Sweet mercy, that show. She said people who talk to Jesus have a mental disease. She ridiculed our great Vice President, Mike Pence. And by the way, people ask me, Todd, when did you get on board with Donald Trump? Well, I'm going to tell you the answer to that question. I got on board the day he announced that Mike Pence was going to be his running mate. This is a man who loves God. Mike Pence is a man who loves his family. Mike Pence is a man who defends religious liberty. And by golly, I believe in 2024, he's going to make one heck of a great president in these United States. But I believe there's one moment that really defines where we are and why the midterm elections are so important. There was President Trump speaking to a joint session of Congress, honoring our brave fighting men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and the Democrats sat on their bottoms. He honored a pro-life family, and the Democrats stewed in their seats. He saluted the flag, and he defended the national anthem. But still, the Democrats could not even muster a cheer. And then the president introduced a young man, a North Korean, hobbled on crutches. This man who sacrificed everything to escape the bonds of tyranny, now a free man, and he was honored in the halls of Congress. And this brave young man rose to his feet in defiance to the North Koreans, and he thrust his crutches into the air. And as the assembled crowd cheered and wept and rose to their feet, what did the Democrats do? They sat on their backsides. You see, the left, ladies and gentlemen, they honor tyrants and they honor dictators, but they despise the free man and the free woman. So as you can see, the fight rages on. President Reagan said we're just one generation away from extinction freedom. We came close to the brink, but I still have hope in America. And I believe the reason why we have hope in America is because of people like you, patriots like you. And I believe that together we can fundamentally restore what President Obama transformed. You see, I have hope in America because of Republican women like Sarah Sanders and Pam Bondi and Elaine Chao. They have been bullied and harassed and threatened by a rampaging mob of snowflakes and pajama boys. But they teach us a lesson. Pam Bondi accosted outside a movie theater. Her security mob said, "You got to go out the back door." And she said, "Not at all. No, sir, we're going out that front door. They're not going to scare me away." That's Pam Bondi. And then there was Sarah Sanders. Sarah Sanders, eating at the Red Hen restaurant in Virginia. You know the story. She could have caused a scene, but she displayed civility and grace in the face of humiliating bigotry. You know what's interesting about that episode? The Democrats for years now have been squawking about a chicken restaurant that was intolerant and refused to serve people because of their beliefs. Well, it turns out it wasn't Chick-fil-A after all. Who knew? The official chicken of Jesus, by the way, Chick-fil-A. And then there was Elaine Chao, our transportation secretary, accosted by students at Georgetown University. Instead of ducking into the car to get away, what did she do? She went toe-to-toe with the mob. She did not back down. You see, those three conservative ladies set a bold example for all of us to follow. We must stand up to the far left. We must do so with grace and civility. But sometimes, as one of my dear lady callers from Alabama said, sometimes the hoop's got to come off, the hair's got to go up, and it's time for an old-fashioned come to Jesus meeting. That lady's from Alabama. She understands. You don't want to mess with the Southern women. No, sir, you don't. You know, in my final moments here, there's a quote often attributed to Dietrich Bonhoeffer in that great book Eric Metaxas wrote. Silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act. Well, my friends, I believe this is a Bonhoeffer moment for every gun-toting, Bible-clinging patriot in America. And the time has come for all of us to take a stand. In closing, there's a wonderful movie, We Were Soldiers. It tells the story of the Battle of the La Drang Valley. Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore and his Army Rangers were surrounded. The enemy was advancing, and all appeared to be hopeless. Joe Galloway was there, a reporter for United Press International. And when the bullets started flying, the reporter dropped to the dirt. In the middle of all of this chaos and all of this carnage, Sergeant Major Basil Plumley stood resolute. He walked over and he saw the quivering journalist in the dirt, and he went over and he gave him a swift kick with his boot. And he said, "You can't take no pictures from down there, sonny." Then that old Sergeant Major tossed that young American reporter a rifle so he could defend his life. It was their last stand. And that reporter rejected the weapon. He said, I'm a non-combatant. And that old crusty Sergeant Major looked at that young American and he said, "Son, there ain't no such thing today." My fellow conservatives, we are surrounded. The cultural bullets are flying, the enemies of freedom are advancing, and the time has come for all of us to stand resolute. You say, "Todd, but I'm not a fighter." Well, there's no such thing today because we are freedom's last line of defense. So I say this, my fellow countrymen, do not hide liberty's light under a bushel. No, hold it high. Let the flame of freedom burn bright for all the world to see. I believe it's time for every gun-toting, Bible-clinging, deplorable American to take a thunderous stand for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And let our prayer be on this day that our great nation will once again be that shining city on a hill. God bless you all very much. You've got a friend at the Fox News corner of the world. Thank you.